The rain tapped softly against Ellie's bedroom window, a steady rhythm that usually lulled her to sleep. But tonight at 16, Ellie couldn't shake the restless feeling crawling up her spine. She lived in Willow Creek, a sleepy little town in upstate New York where nothing ever happened. The kind of place where everyone knew your name, your business, and probably what you had for breakfast. Her house, a creaky old Victorian with peeling paint, sat at the edge of town, where the pavement gave way to a dense forest that nobody talked about. Not really. Ellie tossed in bed, her quilt tangled around her legs. She'd been dreaming lately, vivid dreams of a glowing light deep in that forest, calling her name in a voice she swore she recognized but couldn't place. She hadn't told anyone, not even her best friend Mia, who'd probably laugh and say it was too many late-night horror podcasts. But tonight, the dream had been different. The light wasn't just glowing, it pulsed like a heartbeat, and the voice was louder, urgent. "Find it, Ellie," it had whispered. Before it's too late, she sat up, her heart thudding. The clock on her nightstand read 2:17 a.m. The house was quiet except for the rain and the occasional groan of the floorboards settling. Her mom was asleep downstairs, probably exhausted from her double shift at the diner. Her dad, well, he'd been gone since she was 6, leaving behind nothing but a few old photos and a leather journal she'd found last week in the attic, tucked inside a dusty trunk. That journal was why she couldn't sleep now. She reached under her pillow and pulled it out, its worn cover soft under her fingers. The pages were filled with her dad's messy handwriting, sketches of strange symbols, and maps of the forest behind their house. One page, dog-eared and smudged, had a single sentence circled in red ink. "The heart of the forest holds the key," whatever that meant. Ellie traced the words with her fingertip, her breath catching. She'd always thought her dad left because he didn't love them. That's what her mom said anyway when she thought Ellie wasn't listening. But the journal told a different story. It wasn't just ramblings, it felt like a mission. Like he'd been searching for something or running from it. A branch snapped outside, sharp enough to cut through the rain's hum. Ellie froze, clutching the journal. Her window faced the backyard, where the forest loomed like a wall of shadows. She crept out of bed, her bare feet cold against the hardwood, and peered through the glass. The rain blurred everything, but she swore she saw something move. A flicker of light, faint and greenish, darting between the trees. Her pulse raced. She wasn't imagining it. Not this time. She grabbed her hoodie, slipped on her sneakers, and tucked the journal into her pocket. The house was still as she tiptoed downstairs, avoiding the creaky third step. The back door was heavy, its hinges whining as she eased it open. Cold air hit her face, carrying the smell of wet earth and pine. The forest waited. Ellie hesitated, her hand on the doorknob. She could go back to bed, pretend this was just another weird night. But that light, that voice, it felt like it was pulling her, like it had been waiting for her all along. She stepped outside, the rain soaking her hair, and ran toward the trees. The forest was darker than Ellie expected, the kind of dark that swallowed light whole. Her phone's flashlight barely cut through the shadows, illuminating gnarled roots and slick moss. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, but the air was heavy, pressing against her skin. She clutched her dad's journal tighter, her sneakers sinking into the mud as she moved deeper into the trees. She didn't know where she was going, not exactly. The journal's maps were vague, more like sketches than directions, but one drawing kept circling in her mind. A clearing with a single tree, taller than the rest, its branches twisted like fingers reaching for the sky. Her dad had marked it with a star and the word origin. Whatever that meant, it felt important. The forest wasn't quiet like she'd thought it would be. It hummed. Crickets, rustling leaves, the occasional hoot of an owl. But there was something else, too. A low thrumming she felt more than heard, like the ground itself was breathing. She shook off the thought. She was freaking herself out, that's all. After what felt like hours but was probably 20 minutes, she stumbled into a clearing. Her breath caught. There it was, the tree from the journal. It towered over the others, its bark rough and knotted, its branches curling like they were alive. At its base, half buried in the dirt, was a stone slab, carved with symbols that matched the ones in her dad's sketches. Ellie knelt, brushing wet leaves off the stone. The symbols glowed faintly under her touch, a soft green like the light she'd seen from her window. Her fingers trembled as she traced them, half expecting the ground to split open, or something crazy to happen. Nothing did, just the rain, the hum, and her own ragged breathing. She opened the journal, flipping to the page with the symbols. Her dad's notes were frantic, written in bursts. The key is hidden. Only the seeker can find it. Trust the light. She frowned, rereading the words. Seeker? Key? It sounded like a riddle, and she was no good at riddles. A twig snapped behind her. She spun around, her flashlight beam darting across the trees. "Who's there?" she called, her voice shakier than she liked. No answer, just the drip of rain and that eerie hum. She stood, gripping the journal like a weapon. Then she saw it. The green light again flickering deeper in the forest. It wasn't her imagination. It moved like it had a purpose, weaving between the trees, pausing as if waiting for her. Ellie's heart pounded. This was stupid. She should go home, crawl back into bed, forget this whole thing. But her feet moved before her brain caught up, following the light. It led her through tangled underbrush, over a stream so cold it numbed her ankles, and into another clearing. This one was smaller, ringed with stones that looked too perfectly placed to be natural. In the center stood a pedestal, weathered and moss-covered, with a hollowed-out space at the top. Like something was supposed to fit there, the light hovered above the pedestal, pulsing brighter now. Ellie stepped closer, her breath hitching. The journal slipped from her hands, landing in the mud. She barely noticed. The light wasn't just light. It was alive, swirling, whispering her name. "Ellie," it said, clear as day. "Find the key." She stumbled back, her sneakers slipping. This wasn't a dream. This was real. And whatever her dad had been chasing, she just stepped right into it. Ellie didn't sleep when she got home. She couldn't. Her clothes were soaked, her sneakers caked with mud, and her mind was a mess of questions. She sat cross-legged on her bed, the journal open in her lap, trying to make sense of what she'd seen. The glowing symbols, the pedestal, that voice, it was too much. She kept replaying the moment the light spoke her name, her skin prickling at the memory. By morning, the rain had stopped and Willow Creek looked annoyingly normal. Kids biked down the street, and Mrs. Carter next door was already fussing over her roses. Ellie wanted to scream. How could everything be so ordinary when her world was unraveling? She needed answers, but she couldn't tell her mom. Not yet. Her mom would freak, probably ground her for sneaking out, and definitely wouldn't believe her about glowing lights or talking forests. Mia was her best bet. Mia was practical, nosy in a good way, and didn't scare easy. Ellie texted her, "Meet me at the diner, 10 a.m., urgent." The diner was packed when Ellie got there, smelling of coffee and fried eggs. Mia was already in their usual booth, her dark curls bouncing as she waved Ellie over. "You look like you got hit by a truck," Mia said, sliding a milkshake toward her. "What's the emergency?" Ellie hesitated. She hadn't planned how to explain this without sounding unhinged. She pulled the journal from her backpack and slid it across the table. "It's my dad's. I found it in the attic. And last night, I saw something in the forest." Mia's eyebrows shot up, but she didn't laugh. She flipped through the journal, her eyes narrowing at the sketches. "Okay, this is weird. Your dad was into some serious Indiana Jones stuff. What did you see out there?" Ellie told her everything. The dreams, the light, the tree, the pedestal. Mia listened, sipping her milkshake, her face unreadable. When Ellie finished, Mia leaned back, whistling low. "So what? You think your dad was part of some secret forest cult or something?" "Don't joke," Ellie snapped, then softened. "I don't know what it is, but it's real, Mia. That light knew my name." Mia tapped the journal. "This key he keeps mentioning. Any idea what it is?" Ellie shook her head. "I think it's connected to that pedestal, like something's supposed to go there. But I don't know what or where to look." Mia grinned, her eyes glinting with mischief. "Well, lucky for you, I'm great at finding things. Let's go back tonight." together. Ellie wanted to argue to say it was too dangerous, but the truth was she didn't want to go alone. Fine, but if we die, I'm blaming you. Mia laughed. Deal. Now eat some fries. You look like a ghost. That night they met at the edge of the forest, flashlights in hand. Mia had brought a backpack stuffed with snacks, a pocket knife, and for some reason a glow stick. For vibes, she said, cracking it to life. Ellie rolled her eyes but was glad she wasn't alone. The forest felt different with Mia there, less oppressive but still alive in that strange, thrumming way. They followed the path Ellie had taken, using the journal's sketches to guide them. The tree was easy to find, its twisted branches looming like a sentinel. The stone slab still glowed faintly, the symbols pulsing under their flashlights. Creepy, Mia whispered, crouching to study the carvings. These look old, like ancient old. Ellie nodded, her stomach twisting. The pedestal's further in. Come on. They pushed deeper, the air growing colder, the hum louder. When they reached the clearing with the pedestal, the green light was already there, hovering like it had been waiting. Mia gasped, grabbing Ellie's arm. Okay, you weren't kidding. That's not normal. The light pulsed, brighter, and the voice came again, soft but clear. The key, Ellie, find it. Mia's grip tightened. Did that thing just talk? Ellie nodded, her throat dry. Yeah, and I think it's been waiting for me to listen. The next few days were a blur. Ellie and Mia spent every spare moment poring over the journal, trying to crack its secrets. Ellie barely slept, her dreams filled with the forest, the light, and her dad's voice reading those cryptic notes. Mia, true to form, turned it into a mission, dragging Ellie to the town library to dig through old records about Willow Creek. The library was a squat brick building that smelled like dust and old paper. Mrs. Linton, the librarian, eyed them suspiciously as they hauled stacks of books to a corner table. Don't make a mess, she warned, adjusting her glasses. They found nothing useful at first, just boring town histories about lumber mills and the annual apple festival. But then Mia pulled out a crumbling book titled Legends of Willow Creek. Its cover faded to a dull brown. Inside was a chapter about the forest, calling it the Verdant Vale, a place rumored to house an ancient power. The book mentioned a key tied to a forgotten ritual, guarded by something called the Keeper. The Keeper? Mia read aloud, her voice low. Sounds like a bad fantasy movie. Think it's real? Ellie's skin prickled. Maybe. My dad wrote about a seeker. Maybe the Keeper's connected. They kept digging, but the book was vague, more myth than fact. Still, it mentioned a name. Amos Blackwood, a 19th century settler who'd lived near the forest and claimed it was alive. His cabin was supposedly still out there, abandoned. We need to find that cabin, Mia said, slamming the book shut. If your dad was chasing this key thing, maybe Amos knew something. Ellie wasn't so sure. The forest was huge and the journal didn't mention any cabin. But they had no other leads, and the light's voice was still echoing in her head. Fine, she said, but we're not going in blind. We need a plan. Their plan was simple. Sneak out after dark, follow the journal's maps as best they could, and look for anything that resembled a cabin. Ellie's mom was working late again, so they had a window. Mia brought her glow stick again, plus a compass she'd borrowed from her brother. The forest was colder this time, the air sharp with the smell of pine and something metallic like rust. They stuck close, their flashlights sweeping the trees. Ellie kept the journal open, matching landmarks. A gnarled oak, a boulder split down the middle, to her dad's sketches. After an hour, they found it. A crumbling cabin half swallowed by vines, its windows dark and empty. The door hung off its hinges, creaking in the wind. Ellie's heart raced. This felt like a mistake, but Mia was already pushing inside. The cabin was small, just one room with a sagging floor and a stone fireplace. Papers were scattered everywhere, yellowed and brittle. Ellie picked one up, her hands shaking. It was a letter, written in the same messy scrawl as her dad's journal. Mia, she whispered, holding it up. This is his handwriting. The letter was short, addressed to someone named Clara. I found the keeper's mark. The key is closer than we thought, but it's dangerous.